All right, Sag, it's not bad, but I think that some of you may have put yourself in a position where you're not happy. And you may have to reconsider your actions, but you're going to have to think very carefully before you act and not settle anymore or not sell yourself short. So from the Halloween Oracle Owl, wise saying, wise action, and then from Hidden Realms, the Wise Woman of Wonderland, integrity and compromise. And this did show up as a challenge for you. Now, Owl is saying that there may be a need for wise counsel or further information before you make a decision. Considered action is warranted. Think before you act emotionally and ensure you think strategically and not impulsively. And then the Wise Woman of Wonderland. This one is saying that this is a sign that you have compromised yourself out of fear. And then it asks, have you been in denial about the truth of your situation? Have you sold yourself short rather than asking for what you really need? Have you given up your dreams for another because you fear abandonment? And then it's just basically saying that you need to claim your good and never settle for less. Why hang around for more disappointment when wonderful adventures and opportunities are waiting to unfold for you? So your actions may have put you in a place where you're not happy. All right, Sag, here's your overall for the week. Oh boy, the Two of Cups. So possibly focused on a relationship here. And it could be any relationship. And I always say that with the Two of Cups because, it could be family, it could be friends. But this is more about two people who have a very strong connection. But this could definitely be about, a romantic relationship where you're focused on one right now or wanting one. Or at least needing to see eye to eye with another person right now. Now, in the past, Judgment, damn, man. Judgment is not a bad card. I freak out when I see it because I don't like the idea of having to review things. And that's just me, right? But with Judgment as the past coming through, you may have gone through everything that you've experienced in the past and now you're ready to lay it to rest. It's the review and moving on. It is what it is. It's the past. It's time to move on, right? But is something coming back up for you that you're needing to look at again? And is that why the Two of Cups is here? Needing to see eye to eye, needing to kind of review things again instead of being rigid on the way that, you are seeing things, which I kind of get from that. In the present, and yeah, and it's not like an emperor type of rigid here, but with the Seven of Wands, I think that in order for things to be laid to rest, you're going to have to speak up about what you're no longer willing to deal with. With the Seven of Wands, right? You're standing up for yourself, defending your position, defending your choices here, using your voice, fighting off the opposition. But it's not that you're intentionally trying to be defensive or fighting this person, but something may be coming up that, you're okay with letting go of. But right now you're needing to tell this person very directly, look, this is what I'm not going to deal with anymore. Like this shouldn't have been brought back up. Oh boy. Okay. The Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant in future conditions with the Two of Cups, absolutely, we could be talking about a commitment here. Or wanting to at least have something traditional. And that may be the issue. For some of you, if we're talking about a relationship here, with Judgment, I think that for you, at one point, you may have been okay with not having, a full-on commitment or something that was, traditional. But it's coming back up now, right? And you're wanting to have this relationship, but you're also wanting this person to understand how you're feeling and where you're coming from. And it's not the Hangman. We're not holding up the show here, but they need to see things from your perspective, you, them, with the Two of Cups. I look at the Hierophant in future conditions, and yeah, there's no reason why things can't be traditional. But I think that that's what you're speaking up about. Like, all right, if you're going to be with me, be with me. That's kind of how I feel about this. I think that at one point you may have been okay with it not being that way, but now it may be getting to a point where, you need to know. Like, you need to know, are you going to stick it out with me? Or, are we just going to continue to do things that, aren't exactly traditional, right? With the Hierophant being there. Whew. your best path to follow, the Queen of Wands. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know, what I want to say here is don't lose, your confidence. Don't worry about how the other person is seeing you based on what you're speaking up about. Because I look at self-image with her. To me, this is a queen that, it very much takes into consideration the way other people are seeing her. But the other thing, though, too, is I feel like, you shouldn't settle. You shouldn't settle, God damn it, right? Like, it's so much there between the oracle cards and this, and you may have to take different action. But, right, you can't act impulsively here, but you don't want to continue to be in a relationship where you feel like, you're on your own, kind of. Because I always see the Queen of Wands as somebody who usually presents herself as like not available, But I don't think that you want to be that way. But then at the same time, you don't want to be in a relationship where you don't feel like, you get to be you. But there needs to be passion and enthusiasm for this relationship and what you're dealing with here. What I worry about with the Queen of Wands being your advice is how it is affecting you and the way that you see yourself, And the advice there would be to be true to you. Be true to you and what you want. In your environment, the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so if we're speaking up about wanting to have something traditional, it may be because you're not feeling like you have everything that you want or everything that you need, with the Five of Pentacles being there. And this is what you're speaking up about. Look, I can't be on the outside looking in on this. You have to include me. I need to be a part of what is going on here. Like, this could be about them not telling you certain things, or you feeling like you just don't know about what's going on with their life. Or it's just that, you're not going to deal with, any kind of rejection, right? But I feel more so that you feel a lack, like you're feeling a lack of that connection, and that's not something that you're willing to deal with anymore, And you're looking at it, with Judgment coming through, it's like you're really looking at it this time. It's almost like you don't have a choice. Like, I really need to look at this. Because the twos, still represent the choices that we're making. The choice to be involved with a person, with the Two of Cups, right? The choice to have that kind of emotional connection, understanding, seeing eye to eye, right? But is this worth doing if you're not going to get the commitment that you want, or if you're, constantly being on the outside of what's happening? Like, they're not including you. They're not making you a part of what they're dealing with. Wow, Sag. Your hopes and your fears, the Knight of Cups. And here is where I feel like the problem is. With the Knight of Cups, I mean, the hope there would be that, you're getting that, return of emotions, right? Like, if I'm going to offer this to you, are you going to offer it back to me, right? I mean, I love the Knight of Cups, but what I feel like looking at this, especially with what you're dealing with here, is come here, go away. Come here, go away, and you not wanting to do that anymore, but then also hoping, especially with the Hierophant coming out here, that they're going to follow through on, what they're offering to you, right? I do feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be about, a romantic relationship. I don't feel like, this is going to be business. Now, for some of you, yeah, I mean, absolutely, we could look at it that way. With the Two of Cups, you're talking about something that's going to be a good fit for you, right? A good business partnership here, hoping that, this offer comes through and it's good, right? But you may be in a position where you're constantly having to defend your position with where you're working. You may be wanting to have like a management position, looking at the Queen of Wands, maybe wanting to get out of, a work situation and make a different commitment, right? I mean, absolutely, we could look at it that way, but I don't know. I feel like this is between you and another person here, and your actions have led you to a point where you're not happy with what you're dealing with right now. And again, right, don't settle. Don't settle for things, especially if you have somebody who's constantly in and out. But it's not a Knight of Wands type of way. It's funny because I've been seeing this a lot lately with him, and bugs the shit out of me because I love the Knight of Cups, right? I mean, absolutely, the hope there would be that, this is fulfilling for you, that you get to follow where these emotions are leading you, that, you can see this through to the Hierophant and having that commitment, that strong commitment. But this is like bipolar emotions. I want you, I don't. I want you, I don't. Well, what the hell do you want? And that's how I feel like you're looking at it. And then coming out the Star, there's absolutely potential here for there to be, emotional balance and healing. I mean, I don't see this as a bad thing. Not with the way this is lining up. So with the Ace of Swords and Judgment, right? Like facing the truth of the situation, needing to go back and kind of review things, but there being truth and clarity. But then not only that, needing truth and clarity from this person, especially if you feel like you don't know what's going on, right? And with Justice, needing to have that corrected. I mean, absolutely, with the Star being there, we could be talking about somebody correcting, the things that they may have been doing that weren't exactly fair. Right? Fairness and balance here. But with the Tower coming out, right? This is things needing to change drastically now in order for there to be healing and to have something traditional, right? To have something that's more committed, more grounded, and I don't really see it as a bad thing, not with the Star being there. Because the thing is, the Star comes after the Tower, right? When everything collapses, you see the stars and that hope is restored to you after, things may not have worked out before. But this to me is like now, drastic, sudden now in order to create this healing. So for those of you who are in a relationship, give your relationship a chance. With the Knight of Pentacles, right, things may be moving a little bit slowly here. This is kind of like the friendship zone, being put in the friend zone, right? It's like looking at what your partner is offering you and going, wait a minute, there needs to be a little bit more understanding and things need to be corrected, right? But it's not that you're giving up and it's not that you're saying no. It's just that there needs to be a better understanding between the two of you. And there are some things here that need to be fixed, need to be corrected, absolutely, with Justice, but don't give up on the relationship, right? Maybe you need to go to a place where, there's at least a better friendship first before, the relationship can really get going. And again, right, like doing something drastic here in order to get to a place where there's healing and, the commitment and tradition. For those of you who are single, if you have the Ace of Cups coming at you, it is safe to take that shit and be happy. That's perfect. You're talking about new love, right? It's perfect. The Ace of Cups is something that, I don't look at this as, with this deck, something that's going to drain out on you. This is going to lead you to the happily ever after, right? This is what you need. This is what I feel like some of you need, is a new beginning. And it's okay for you to take this, despite what you may have experienced before, right? Perfect. It's perfect. But, like I said, for those of you who are in a relationship, things need to be fair and balanced, right? Things need to drastically change in order for there to be healing here. I don't think that, I've never seen Sagittarius as, being afraid to make a commitment. You're different than the other fire signs. Like I've always said, when it comes to Sag, your job is to see the wisdom in the fire. You're not supposed to maintain it and you're not supposed to start it. The other two fire signs, Aries and Leo, love them to death, but they're not known for commitment. But I don't ever see that being an issue for Sag. You guys are known as the hopeless romantics, right? And that's not a bad thing. But, I don't see you fearing a commitment or walking away from a commitment here. I think what you're trying to do is build a stronger commitment or something that at least is going to be more traditional for you.